The Great Wall has been your home for Chinese favorites since 1981. Don't miss the sesame chicken, mushu pork with Chinese pancakes, or Peking duck. Stop in at the restaurant on France Avenue and 45th Street along the Minneapolis-Edina City line, or check them out at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting live on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. In the evenings on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk. In the nighttime hours, 1150 AM KKNW in Seattle. And, of course, on BAM, the Blue Amp Media Network at blueamp.co on Substack. That's blueamp.co on Substack. It is the Matt McNeil Show for your Monday. Good to have you with us. Guest free today, but that's the way, I like it sometimes. Matt Patrick here as well. Hello, Patrick. How are we today? Did you have a nice weekend?
Yeah, it was pretty uneventful. I caught the closing ceremony to the Olympics yesterday. Some good stuff there.
You brought up the Olympics. I want to actually kind of start off with the Olympics there. How about the USA winning against Canada in overtime 2-1 yesterday? What was your thoughts on that game? I thought it was one of the best hockey games I've ever seen because I've never seen such speed and skill displayed as you do with basically an all-star game of the best hockey players in the world between Canada and the United States.
Yeah, no, that was definitely an incredible game. Congratulations both to the women and the men for getting overtime wins against Canada.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it should be noted that this really was a pretty remarkable event to happen. I mean, Canada, there is a moment in that game that people, I don't know if they'll talk about for long. I mean, hockey fans, I think, will. But a lot of people will probably overlook this as what I consider to be the linchpin of how the United States won. And that was that 5-on-3, where we had 2 penalties and went for a minute and a half. They had 5 of the best Canadian hockey players taking on 3 of our defenders. And what proceeds to happen ends up becoming what I would call a textbook example of how you actually do a 5-on-3 defense that they could not have executed any better. Would you agree with that moment?
Oh, I absolutely would.
There were 1 or 2 moments where because I'm also understanding that this is not even your standard NHL player. These are the best of the best, and these Canadian players are just so good. There were 1 or 2 moments in that I said they could have taken a shot there, and they didn't. And I don't know if it was the fear of the defenseman getting in the way of it and wasting an opportunity, or they just didn't see it. Because, I mean, these were just quick open, hey, that was a shot. They could have taken a shot and maybe gotten a goal. But the fact that Canada didn't get a goal when they were up with 2 players on the ice, and we are talking the best hockey players in the world, and they could not get a goal in that time, that save in the third period, holy God, was that incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen the overhead shot now of like the 2 sticks coming together with the goalie, and I think it's Jonathan Taves of Canada. That is an incredible photo.
And my wife says it was lucky. I said it was lucky. No, indeed was lucky, because the way the puck bounced off that stick was indeed lucky. But the fact that he got the goalie stick back there and managed just to get enough of a piece of that puck that he basically knocked it to the side. I mean, that was incredible. And then, of course, the overtime goal. Like I said, I was watching that game, and if you're kind of a novice hockey fan, to watch these players come flying into the zone as fast as they were was insane. I mean, it got so stressful. I missed the third period in the overtime because I was at church. I watched the first 2 periods, and then I had 9:00 service yesterday. So I had to go to church, priorities. And so, yeah, I had to watch the rest of it on replay. God, I mean, it was exhausting. It was exhausting watching that because it was so stressful. And I know we have some Canadian listeners, and I want to just say to you guys, I can get it. This is hard. I get it. This is hard. You are the hockey powerhouse in the world. I mean, it would be as if the United States lost an American football game to some other country, and to Canada or to Mexico, and they'd be sitting there scratching their head. Only here's the difference is American football is hardly played outside the United States. Meanwhile, hockey is a relatively popular sport. And you guys still have been the best of the best. Back about 20 some years ago, I had a friend of mine who lived out in Nova Scotia. She was named Lorraine. And I'm no longer friends with her because the Canadians beat the United States in the Olympics that year in the gold medal game. And it was once again, as always, these games are overtime, 1-goal differences, just insanely good games. And of course, I said, hey, congratulations. I actually reached out and said, congratulations. And she was like, we kicked your ass. I'm like, okay, it was it was an overtime 1-goal difference. I don't know if that's, we kicked your ass. She was suddenly Packer fan. She was suddenly Eagles fan. The worst of sports, which from a Canadian was incredible. Now, she did have Irish background, so I'm going to guess it was, a little bit of the Irish coming through on her. But, I mean, she was just belligerent. After yesterday, I'm not going to do the same thing. I'm not going to sit there and just, kind of trash talk as, just jerks are, because I can appreciate effort and skill and top level gaming that's going on there. I can honestly appreciate that. But I'm glad the United States won, but I'm not going to trash talk because, anyone that watched either the women's game or the men's game, you realize how good these two teams were. And just, that's what it was. That's what it was. As a matter of fact, I kind of felt a little sorry for the Canadian fans. So many of them went to Italy to watch that game just because they knew they were going to be in the final. And they overwhelmed, I think the majority of the people in the ice arena were Canadian fans. And it was a great game. And I'm very proud of the United States. But I do have to bring up a point, if I may. Because someone showed up who, funny, wasn't actually playing in the game. I know this was part of the celebration. As a matter of fact, it was kind of really, really odd that he was there. And who I'm talking about is, of course, the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, who somehow showed up and was in the USA locker room guzzling beers and celebrating with the hockey team. The FBI director, Kash Patel, has a lot of plate just now, just between the shooting death of an armed man who entered Trump's Mar-a-Lago home to the weeks-old search for missing Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie, not to mention the ongoing fervor, of course, around the Jeffrey Epstein files. So eyebrows were raised on Sunday when phone footage emerged of Kash Patel whooping it up with the men's USA Olympic hockey team in Milan after the gold medal victory against Canada at the Winter Olympics. All this urgent business going on, and our FBI director thinks he's a frat bro, said one of the comments on the post. The phone video sent by some source to ProPublica reporter William Turton shows Patel dressed in a white USA hockey shirt, gold medal slung around his neck. He chugs a bottle and splatters beer spray around the locker room as his teeth sings Toby Keith's Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue. Patel is an avid hockey fan. He flew to Milan on Justice Department plane on Thursday on what his spokesperson, Ben Williamson, insisted was official business. After CBS News reported that Patel used an FBI jet to attend Olympic men's hockey games, Williamson insisted this was not a personal trip. Patel was on a trip that planned months ago. Sure he was. Patel had a number of official meetings scheduled with Italian law enforcement officials and the U.S. ambassador to Italy. This is the FBI director. Why are you meeting with the ambassador in Italy? So you wanted to go see this and go party with your bros, dude. He waded himself into the controversy Sunday evening and portrayed himself as a misunderstood party. I love America and was extremely humbled by my friends, newly minted gold medal winners of the Team USA, invited me into the locker room. Greatest country on earth, greatest sport on earth. A right-wing podcaster, a former FBI agent, ripped them saying that's called misuse of official position. Okay. Does it surprise me that the USA hockey team is full of a bunch of right-wing MAGA Republicans? Not at all. And the reason why is, if you know anything about kids' sports, of all of them, the most expensive by far is ice hockey. Hockey is a god-awful expensive sport. So you already have to be incredibly wealthy to do this. And I am talking, you do have to be incredibly wealthy to have a kid do hockey. You can't, it's not a sport for the average person. And so these are people that are coming from generally wealthy right-wing houses to begin with. And frankly, and because of the way that youth sports is coordinated, whoever has the most money is able to buy themselves a position on the next level up because they can get to the higher end training programs and the higher end weekend camps that they have and stuff like this. So this doesn't surprise me in the least bit that the NHL team the USA Olympic hockey team is full of a bunch of right-wing douches. It doesn't. And let's be honest. I mean, this is one of the things that sports teams like to try to keep quiet, that they have all these guys that are basically right-wing Republicans. And the reason why is every once in a while they have to go on out to the Democrats and say, hey, buddies, we need you to build us $1 billion sports complex with taxpayer dollars. And generally they don't do that if there's been a far, relatively right-wing thing. I can actually say this for authority because when Red McCombs owned the Minnesota Vikings, they were the Minnesota Republican Party Vikings, and they tried to help Republicans across the board. And they actually even had a broadcast where the color guy called, Democrats a bunch of idiots during a Vikings broadcast, to which that guy got canned. But still, when they came out and they needed to get a new football stadium for the University of Minnesota Golden Gopher team, a new Twin stadium, and a new Viking stadium, guess who was left out of that mix? The Vikings were. Now, eventually they sold the team to Ziggy Wolf because it was clear Red McCombs was never going to get a new stadium here. So they sold it to Ziggy Wolf, and then they still built a $1 billion stadium because stadiums get you championships. That's as they said. And of course, as everyone knows, how many Super Bowl titles has the Minnesota Vikings? Okay, that's 0 still. Because stadiums get you championships. Anyway, so they keep this quiet. So it doesn't bother me. But I want to actually ask you something. Let's say this was a Democratic administration. Let's just say this was a Democratic administration, and the FBI director under a Joe Biden or a Barack Obama was captured back in the locker room guzzling beers with the USA hockey team in a foreign country, which they used government taxpayer dollars to fly to so he could party with his home bros. Kash Patel in the opposite position would be screaming bloody murder about how dare you. Every Republican would be right now. Every single Republican would be right now because massive freaking hypocrites. Yeah, nice job. You kind of took a little luster off of it. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. February is the month for love, so when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it deserves? Maybe you've been procrastinating on the holiday post-mortem cleanup at your house. Are you worried if you got down on your hands and knees what you might see or smell? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the largest air filter in your home. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing this nasty stuff for months. Lucky for you, Zero Res is going to spread the love to you and your home. This month, get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $119 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Call my friends at Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. A 4.9 rating on Google reviews and over 21,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
In today's uncertain times, Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces believes that a fire can add comfort and security to your life. At Woodland, our mission is to connect you to a place for fire that works.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces installed our wood stove years ago, and we still love it. Watching the fire, feeling the heat is a joy we experience every day, and knowing we have a reliable heat source makes us feel snug and safe.
There are many choices in wood, gas, or electric. For diversity and styles, at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, we display over 180 models, and 35 of these are burning displays. You can experience the glow and warmth of a live fire.
Whether wood, gas, or electric, find a fire that warms your heart, a fire that adds comfort and security to your life. See the many choices at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, located on the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis, and online at woodlandstoves.com.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces since 1977. For over 48 years, our slogan has been, out of the ordinary products and services. Our mission is to get you a fireplace that works in your life.
Step into Forts, a fort-building wonderland at Children's Theater Company through April 5th. Theatrical elements, evolving light and soundscapes, and towers of cardboard boxes set the scene for creative play. Build the tallest fort, the longest fort, or tons of cozy little forts. Design a castle or a neighborhood. Your imagination leads the way as you play freely and create shared stories together in real life. Forts at CTC through April 5th. Spring break weekdays available. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Nice to have you with us here today. 952-946-6205. Some things I got to get into here before I'm going to talk a lot about tariffs coming up here in a second because, yeah, okay. He is like, Trump is like, what do you mean she returned my chocolates? Yeah. You creeper. Anyway. First of all, over to England, where Peter Mandelson has been arrested for the former labor minister was accused of leaking Downing Street emails to pedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein when he was a business secretary. The peer was arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office, says the Metropolitan Office, after officers attended his home in London in Monday afternoon. Monday morning here. The 72-year-old was taken to a London police station for questioning. The former U.S. ambassador was alleged to have passed on market-sensitive information to Epstein during his time of business secretary. Do not underestimate obviously, the biggest problem with the Epstein files, the Trump files, is child rape and child sex trafficking. But we also should note that clearly Vladimir Putin was somehow involved in this. And this clearly seems like now we have with the former Prince Andrew and now this guy, definitive gathering of sensitive intelligence information by the Epstein group, which clearly goes beyond just and I don't want to say just because it's not just, I mean, it's obviously child rape and child sex trafficking, but there's something else going on here that should not be ignored, even though the by far larger story here is you guys raped a bunch of kids. You raped a bunch of kids. Lord Mandelson has previously denied any wrongdoing here. As part of the Epstein files published by the U.S. Department of Justice, emails from 2009 appeared to show Mandelson forwarding an assessment by then Prime Minister Gordon Brown's advisor of potential policy measures, including an asset sales plan. The arrest comes after police searched two of Mandelson's properties in connection with the allegations. In a statement confirming the arrest, the Met said officers had arrested a 72-year-old man on suspicion of misconduct of public office. It should be noted that this is, and this is what is scaring Trump, is all of a sudden we have a country who, it doesn't matter who it is, you raped kids, you're going to go to jail, you're going to get arrested. And in the United States, not only do you not get arrested, but, Trump is, making Republicans do more blood oaths to him, and Lutnick is in there. And of course, multiple other Republicans still have access because they don't. Trump himself, without a doubt in my mind, raped kids and was sex trafficking children, without a doubt in my mind. But there are so many other people that are around him that clearly were doing this, and this is him trying to, I'm so sorry, I should have never brought this up to the campaign, even though it was his entire center point of his entire campaign. 952-946-6205. But cover-ups are not the only thing in regards to the Epstein files, but there's, of course, also the Jack Smith probe. And now we have the latest attempt to cover this up. Eileen Cannon, who, by the way, when we do start getting to the impeachments, how is Eileen Cannon not going to be the first one to go? She clearly is only there to basically make sure Donald Trump never faces any accountability. And I'll be honest with you. When I get to the end of the story here, I'm going to tell you why I think she really is burying this. The federal judge has permanently barred the release of the report by special counsel Jack Smith on his investigations into Trump's hoarding of classified documents. Smith, 56, investigated Trump over his alleged attempt to overturn the result of the 2020 presidential election and over his alleged retention of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago after leaving office, only for the cases to be dismissed once Trump returned to power. U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon, who's nominated to be the bench by Trump, granted a request Monday from Republican president to keep under wraps the report detailing Smith's findings in the probe resulting in the criminal charges in 2023. Just to recap here, they said it was all false. They called him to testify. He said, no, I got the evidence. We had him dead to rights. And then all of a sudden I was like, you got to hide this. You can't let people see what I did. Trump demanded the judge block the DOJ from releasing Smith's final report on the classified documents affair, filing a motion arguing this release would irreparably harm the president and his former co-defendants because it was inherently biased. No, it's called the truth. And the truth is against you, Trump, you child rapist. God. Cannon, who was in 2024 dismissed the case after concluding that Smith was unlawfully appointed, said the release of the report would present a manifest injustice to Trump and his two co-defendants, even though, once again, she's basically placating the whole argument this was a biased investigation when it wasn't. Special counsel Smith, acting without lawful authority, obtained the indictments of the action that initiated proceedings that resulted in the final order of the dismissal of the charges, she wrote. The president unceremoniously fired DOJ officials who would work on Smith's investigation last January and threatened law firms with connections to the Democrats. I can tell you one thing I honestly feel. I honestly feel Eileen Cannon is bearing this not only because Donald Trump told her to, and I want to repeat that. I believe 100% that Eileen Cannon is bearing this because she was told to bury it by Trump. A judge just 100% in his pocket, no justice, no nothing. But I bet you it also crossed her mind that if this report came on out and it does indeed prove exactly what, because let me read what Jack Smith said. Former special counsel Jack Smith told a congressional committee Wednesday, this is in January, this team found proof beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump engaged in a criminal scheme to overturn the results of the 2020 election, according to parts of his opening statement. Trump also repeatedly tried to obstruct justice to keep his secret retention of classified documents found during an FBI search of his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. He told members of the House Judiciary Committee at a closed-door deposition. Smith said his team turned up powerful evidence that showed Trump willingly retained highly classified documents after he left office in January 2021, storing them at his social club, including in a bathroom and in a ballroom where events and gatherings took place. January 6th was an attack on the structure of our democracy in which over 100 heroic law enforcement officers were assaulted. Over 160 individuals later pled guilty to assaulting police officers that day. Exploiting that violence, President Trump and his associates tried to call members of Congress to furtherance of their criminal scheme, urging them to delay further certification of the 2020 election. I did not choose these members, Trump did. So basically what he's saying that we had him dead to rights on basically the trying to overthrow the election, and we had him dead to rights on the stealing of the documents. I think Eileen Cannon is very aware that if this case actually does see the light of day, there's going to be enough undeniable evidence that she basically has to explain how in the world did you ignore all this stuff to basically try to throw this out on a technicality. It's kind of like you remember when right-wing media would try to make it seem like we've got this person who's murdered 16 people, but because some cop didn't read the Miranda rights, he gets to skate. Like that's, remember those kind of, right-wing fantasy, we're going to be against the system. Well, now it's the complete opposite. We have Trump dead to rights, and all of a sudden it's like, well, they didn't dot their I's and cross their T's properly on this form, and so I have to throw the whole thing out. But don't think for 1 second Eileen Cannon's burying this partially because she would have to explain to everybody how in the world she saw this evidence and didn't think that this was actually worthy of some level of investigation because she's buddies with Trump. That's why. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Come see the trained chimp. It's the Matt McNeil Show, 3 to 5 p.m. weekday afternoons, right here on AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Hey everyone, it's Ellie Krug, the host of The Legal Trends Woman that airs on Saturdays at 3 o'clock. As some of you know, when I'm not doing radio, I'm writing things. A decade ago, I published my first book, Getting to Ellen, a memoir about love, honesty, and gender change. More recently, my newest book, Being Ellen, A Second Chance at Life, was released. I'm thrilled about that, so much so that I partnered with one of AM 950's friends and advertisers, Big Hill Books in Minneapolis, for an author event where you can come and meet me and hopefully buy a book or two. The author event at Big Hill Books will take place on Sunday, March 1st from 2 to 3 in the afternoon. Big Hill Books is a lovely place with all things literary. Please come. I'd love to personally inscribe a book for you and to chat about what it means to live authentically, true to oneself. Again, please join me on Sunday, March 1st at Big Hill Books, which is located at 405 Penn Avenue South in Minneapolis. I look forward to seeing you.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been telling you about my friends at Snap Construction, who are arguably the most well-reviewed exterior construction company in the metro. Don't just take my word for it. Take a look at all their reviews online. Winter is the most cost-effective time of the year to complete your construction project. A majority of Minnesotans choose to have their work completed on their home in the summer when they should be enjoying the weather. As a result, the demand for labor in the summer is much higher. The most cost-effective way to improve or restore your home is in the winter due to the lower demand. Right now, Snap Construction is offering an additional 30% off of labor to the AM 950 listeners on your next construction project between now and the end of February. Call 612-333-SNAP and mention AM 950 for an additional 30% off. As always, Snap Construction stands by their work with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. Don't wait to get a free estimate by calling 612-333-SNAP or find them online at snapconstruction.com. Financing options available.
Hearts and beliefs collide in the poignant comedy, The Cake, playing at Theater in the Round. Della is a talented Southern baker whose life changes when she's asked to create a wedding cake for her late best friend's daughter, who's marrying a woman. The production offers a tender and funny look at the complex intersection of faith and family. The Cake runs February 20th through March 15th at Theater in the Round. Tickets and more information at theaterintheround.org.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Today, sunshine with a high of 21, then tonight, cloudy with a low of 17. The Great Wall has been your home for Chinese favorites since 1981. Don't miss the sesame chicken, mushu pork with Chinese pancakes, or Peking duck. Stop in at the restaurant on France Avenue and 45th Street along the Minneapolis-Edina City line, or check them out at greatwallrestaurant.us.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Broadcasting in the evenings on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk. In Seattle in the late night hours, 1150 AM KKNW. In BAM, Blue Amp Media at blueamp.co on Substack. That's blueamp.co on Substack. And, of course, in Minneapolis, St. Paul on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It is the Matt McNeil Show for your Monday. Nice to have you with us here today. Reminder, you can follow me on social media. I like it when you follow me. Well, not ice, but, I mean, the rest of you, you're cool. You can follow me over on the Substack network at Matt McNeil Show. The Blue Amp, I love Blue Amp. Matt McNeil Show on Blue Amp. Facebook, it's Matt McNeil Show, Progressive Citizen X. And, of course, on the threads, it's Matthew McNeil 1. So find me, poke me, friend me, kiss me, thrill me, kill me. There you go. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about where we're at today in the economy. Now, if you've listened to me for any period of time, I've talked about this really since Trump broke the economy with the tariff thing, where he back in April of last year, he put in tariffs on everybody, and things went so badly, and he shook every major market in this country and cracked them all, that quite literally it's never really recovered. And there is a reason why they did that morning smugly and patting themselves on the back, but by 10:30 that morning they frantically were undoing it. The reason why is because every market was starting to cavitate. And if he hadn't done that, if he hadn't lifted the tariffs that he put into place that morning, we wouldn't be in a depression. Or a recession. We'd be in a depression. We'd be in a far worse economic situation. So he had to stop this. But the damage has been done. The bond market is real fickle. The ag market is real fickle. The housing market is real fickle. I mean, they're all just kind of trying to find any traction whatsoever. I was reading an interesting article that the currency market, there are now a lot of people that feel like the U.S. currency is forever damaged by Trump, and that it's only a matter of time before it really starts to fall on the international stage. And that's bad. So I mean, there's a lot of things that have been going on that don't make a lot of sense. And the one thing that the Republicans will talk about is the Dow. The Dow is so high. Well, the Dow is high because it's falsely inflated. No other economic number makes any sense whatsoever on why the Dow and the other markets, which are once again the playgrounds of the ultra wealthy, would be up there making a lot of success. I have said that the markets being really super high, I mean, there is a well-documented, this is not just me making this up, there is a well-documented AI bubble, which is already like 3 times the size of the bubble that caused the stock market crash of 1929. It's far worse than the housing bubble that was created in 2008. It's worse than the economic crash of 1987. I mean, this is massive. And if it goes south, and it will because it's a bubble, that's what happens, we are not going to be looking at a recession. We'll be looking at a depression. The other thing that has been interesting is to watch the crypto market, which last year had, through Trump's encouragement and basically stealing of people's money and jamming it in his pocket through cryptocurrency, it'd gotten up to 120,000 or something like that, as far as a Bitcoin was worth that much. Well, what was happening was people were dumping the crypto money, taking that money, pouring it into the markets, and keeping to push the markets up. And once again, there is also the element of the people that are really, a lot of people that are pushing this are people who are taking their own money and buying their own stock, and they're kind of falsely equating the markets as it is. Needless to say, the stock market is not nearly as safe as it should, if people want to say it is, as Pam Bondi is screaming at Epstein sex abuse survivors. And we have to be careful of it. And while a major earthquake started to happen on Friday of last week, when the tariffs were, the Supreme Court said, no, you can't raise tariffs. That's a tax. It's always been considered a tax. Basically, that's Congress's job. You can't just do this unilaterally. To which Trump is trying to do the Andrew Jackson Trail of Tears sort of thing, where the Supreme Court says, no, you can't move the Native Americans off their land. And he said, well, you stop me then. And he did. He did the Trail of Tears. And yeah, he was horrible. And well, Trump, just as, even actually worse, and more racist somehow than Andrew Jackson, which is pretty amazing. He basically is, saying, well, I'm going to do this. And because Congress is so neutered, the Republicans in Congress are so neutered to him, that he's basically daring them to hold him accountable. And guess what? In 4 days, you've had a few Republicans saying, hey, I'm glad these tariffs are overturned, but I haven't heard anyone saying, hey, Trump, you can't do this. We get to do this. We should talk a little bit, first of all, about this tariffs, because there is this lie that we have been told that the tariffs are not a tax. They are a tax. As a matter of fact, the 22% tax increase we just saw on tariffs is technically the largest tax increase since 1968. And Trump can say, oh, it's not. No, we pay tariffs. The consumer pays the price of the tariffs. So we are paying the price of the tariffs. And that's a 22% increase in taxes, courtesy of Donald Trump. Donald Trump did this. The biggest U.S. tax increase since 1968. This is according to J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan had raised its risk of global recession from 60% up from 40% previously, and said the tariff impact could be magnified with retaliation, supply chain disruptions, and sentiment shock. One of the things that happened was, and this, by the way, this story was actually from last year, but you had a lot of people, because they had, mulligans, they were able to buy much product as they could. But what did we see at Christmas? We saw a massive downturn in spending at Christmas. That is a predicate. That is not an anomaly. That is what is going to be happening. So you have the Supreme Court saying, hey, no, you can't do this. And Trump is immediately saying, no, we're going to put taxes back in place. U.S. equities fell on Monday as Trump said he's raising his global tariffs around following the Supreme Court's decision to strike down his reciprocal tariffs. Any country that wants to play games with the ridiculous Supreme Court decision, especially those that have ripped off the USA for years and even decades, will be met with a much higher tariff and worse. And that which would they recently agreed to, he wrote in the Post on Truth Social on Monday, buyer beware, all caps. This comes after the president on Saturday said he would increase the global tariff rate to 15%, up from 10% he announced on Friday. Trump added that the new duties would go into effect immediately, though it's unclear whether any official documents had been signed outlining this, the timing. He also said that additional levies could be coming in the next few months. I, as president of the United States, will be effective immediately, raising the worldwide tariff on countries 10%, many of which have been ripping off the U.S. for decades without retribution, until I came along, to the fully allowed and legal tested 15% level, Trump wrote on Truth Social Post. Once again, he is increasing your taxes. European officials expressed concern regarding the action, signaling it could pose a threat to its trade deals. And the U.S., in fact, the European Parliament announced Monday it was paused work on ratifying a trade agreement between the U.S. and the European Union because Trump's an idiot. The European Commission has also said in a statement over the weekend that the current situation is not conducive for delivering fair, balanced, and mutually beneficial transatlantic trade and investment, and asked for a full clarity from the U.S. government on its next steps. Basically, you have Trump over there having a temper tantrum in regards to being told, no, you can't do this, and saying, no, I'm going to do it, and who's going to stop me? And once again, the Republicans in Congress sit there, and apparently they like watching. They're just sitting there going, yes, creepers. Definitely Johnson is. Speaker Johnson is definitely, let me get some popcorn and watch what's going on. Yeah, Johnson definitely has a creeper tone to him. Oh, God. So does that idiot, was it Ogles from Tennessee? Yeah, he's that family tree is a wreath. Anyway, I'm not here to make friends. I'm serious. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to say what's really freaking going on, and they don't like it. Oh, boo freaking who. Good luck with that. We'll see how that works with me. Oh, no, did I offend you? Gee willikers. Tell your mom I said hi. Anyway. Yeah, it's basically Trump's an idiot, and everyone else is trying to figure out, it's like, what's the idiot going to do? And it does indeed seem like he might just try to crash the economy out of spite. So there's this other element to this. And by the way, I should mention the stock market down 822 today. In this day and age of wild swings, it's not that bad, but still it's down. But what's really more, kind of, remember how I said that a lot of people are taking money out of crypto and trying to prop up the markets? Crypto is down to 64,000. It dropped 2,000 today. And a lot of people are speculating it's going to bottom out. Why? Because, well, frankly, it's a Russian Ponzi scheme disguised as an investment. I wouldn't touch crypto if my life freaking depended on it. Because at the end of all of this, there's going to be like 10 guys with all the money, and the rest of you guys are going to be out of luck. SOL, man. Seriously, the rest of you are going to be completely out of luck, and they're going to rob you blind to your face, and then basically whine because you're the loser. I got all the money. If I'm the loser, how come I got all the money? And yeah, it's going to be a harsh break to you MAGA bros that basically have bought in on this thing. But I wouldn't trust crypto to save money. Nope. So there is an element here. Remember when Trump was talking about how we've got this money, we're going to give you a tariff dividend check to all families. Remember when he said he was going to do that? Which was basically giving back part of the money you've paid in tariffs back to you and asking you for a kiss on the cheek. Yeah, it's he was talking about that. More than likely that's done because we've got to figure out what we do with this money that was illegally collected by Trump's government. Tariff dividends were a long shot from the beginning, said certified financial planner Stephen Cates, a financial analyst for Bankrate. Given the White House's lack of authority and unilaterally issue stimulus checks to Americans, the idea was largely aspirational. Any such broad-based benefit program would require legislation passed by Congress following a major Supreme Court defeat, and with the ongoing partisan battle in Washington, congressional approval would be especially difficult, he said. Even if tariffs were to return to prior levels and generate revenue from a broad stimulus program, there does not seem to appear to be sufficient political support to move such a measure through Congress. So basically, the Republicans have no intention of giving that money back to you, which is why I have to tell you, I am actually kind of impressed that the Democrats have picked up on this and are running with that football. Go, go, go. This is a good one. A group of Senate Democrats released legislation on Monday that would mandate refunds on tariffs placed under Trump, higher duties that the Supreme Court struck down on Friday. The legislation, led by Ron Wyden of Oregon, Jeanne Shaheen of New Hampshire, Ed Markey of Massachusetts, follows the Supreme Court's 6-3 decision on Friday against the majority of Trump's tariffs. Trump's illegal tax scheme has already done lasting damage to American families, small businesses, and manufacturers who've been hammered by a wave after wave of new Trump tariffs, said Wyden. Senate Democrats will continue to fight to rein in Trump's price hiking trade and economic policies. A crucial first step is helping people who need it most by putting money back in the pockets of small businesses and manufacturers as soon as possible. The White House has defended the tariffs and criticized Democrats who are seeking to refund them. Reminder, the same White House who was talking about, we're going to give you tariff refund checks with Trump's face all over it. All over it. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, how dare you give this money back? Trump's already eaten most of it. He loves it with ketchup. Democrats spent decades talking about the lopsided free trade deals, reshoring middle-class manufacturing, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read the White House press things on it. U.S. government could be on the hook for more than $175 billion because they illegally raised taxes through tariffs. That's no one's problem but theirs. I want my money back. And this is the same thing I say anytime they talk about getting rid of Social Security. I want my money back. If you basically don't give me Social Security, give me the money I've been paying into it. I want my money back. And now all of a sudden, the Republicans who are so quick to say that Trump checks are coming, saying Trump has run out of checks in the checkbook. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
Peace of mind shouldn't cost a fortune. We keep things simple at Schroman Law because we believe planning for your estate and end-of-life care shouldn't be stressful or expensive. Every client relationship starts with a free consultation so clients have the information they need before making important decisions. From there, we work closely with clients to ensure they are choosing the most efficient and cost-effective plans for their specific needs. Schedule a free consultation today at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Hey, Chanhassen in Eden Prairie, it's Alex with Buzz Cut Mowing. Why wake up early, freeze, and shovel snow when I can handle it for you? I provide fast, reliable snow removal so your driveway and sidewalk stay clear, safe, and stress-free all winter long. Relax, enjoy your morning coffee, and let me do the heavy lifting. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com today and make this winter easier, warmer, and worry-free with Buzz Cut Mowing, because nobody likes shoveling snow.
Hi, I'm Katrina, and Season 2 of Boldly Challenging Ableism is about to come out. It will be on Sundays at 2 p.m. right here on AM 950. Boldly Challenging Ableism aims to answer the questions about ableism that you have but feel weird or embarrassed to ask. Boldly pairs nicely with your morning commute or your wind-down time before bed. It also makes for lovely workout listening. We hope to be your low-intensity introduction to the current state of disability justice. We don't expect any pre-reading or prep on the part of the listener. We're just happy you want to listen. It's on Sundays at 2 p.m. right here on AM 950.
Greg Bakken here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Step into Forts, a fort-building wonderland at Children's Theater Company through April 5th. Theatrical elements, evolving light and soundscapes, and towers of cardboard boxes set the scene for creative play. Build the tallest fort, the longest fort, or tons of cozy little forts. Design a castle or a neighborhood. Your imagination leads the way as you play freely and create shared stories together in real life. Forts at CTC through April 5th. Spring break weekdays available. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. To avoid gimmicks, and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
It is the Matt McNeil Show, your smooth jazz station. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Hey, so I want to talk about what freaking happened at the BAFTAs yesterday because, yeah. Okay, first of all, I want to talk about one specific instance what happened with the filmmakers from My Father's Shadow. This is Wale Davies and Kinola Davies Jr. won the BAFTA Film Award for Outstanding British Debut on Sunday, but the BBC ended up cutting a section of their acceptance speech. Davies Jr. closed his winner's remark by dedicating the Outstanding Debut for the British Writer, Director, and Producer Award to all those whose parents migrated to obtain a better life for their children. He continued, to the economic migrant, the conflict migrant, those under occupation, dictatorship, persecution, and those experiencing genocide, you matter. Your stories matter more than ever. Your dreams are an act of resistance, and for those watching at home, archive your loved ones. Archive your stories today, yesterday, and forever. For Nigeria, for London, the Congo, Sudan, free Palestine. And that's what he said. And guess what? Part of that, the BBC edited. The free Palestine part. That part of the speech was removed by the BBC broadcasters and said the edit featured thanking his family and his brother and Wale for nurturing the spark. So they cut it a little bit earlier than that, but still they cut that out. The BBC said the live event is 3 hours and it had to be reduced to 2 hours for its air slot. The same happened to other speeches made during the night, and all edits were made to ensure the program was delivered on time. All winner speeches will be available to watch via the BAFTA's YouTube channel. Okay. So the argument was we didn't cut that because we felt that free Palestine was an offensive thing to say. We cut that because time constraints. Okay, fine. But then you sure as hell have a lot of explaining to do about what else happened that night. At Sunday night's BAFTA Awards, John Davidson, the real-life inspiration for a celebrated British film, I Swear, shouted the N-word at Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo while the Sinners co-stars were presenting an award for Best Visual Effects. Screamed it loud enough you can hear it in the broadcast. The N-word. The outburst followed an opening monologue from the host, Alan Cumming, during which Davidson, who has Tourette's syndrome, was involuntarily ticking. The audience had been informed of Davidson's condition before the show began. It was only after he said the racial slur, though, that Cumming openly addressed the issue. You may have noticed some strong language in the background. This can be part of how Tourette's syndrome shows up. for some people as the film explores the experience coming explained from the stage. Thanks for you for understanding, for helping create a respectful space for everybody. Well, apparently not everybody. I think Jordan and Lindo have a little bit of apologies coming. After the incident, Davidson appeared to remove himself from the theater. At the Warner Brothers after party following the ceremony, Lindo told Vanity Fair that he and Jordan did what we had to do while presenting. And you can see Delroy Lindo, you can see his face is like, what in the world is this? But he also wished someone from BAFTA had actually come up to him afterwards. So this happens. Okay, so all right. So the show, I swear, and by the way, it apparently won some awards. And Tourette syndrome is a real thing. And this is not about diminishing the actual condition. This is not. Okay? It's not. But this is a pretty big freaking problem, especially when you kind of, part of the whole thing here is it doesn't build sympathy for your cause. If you have such unacceptable language being screamed at people in front of a live audience, people need to be tolerant of a cause like Tourette's syndrome, but it doesn't mean that everyone must tolerate unacceptable behavior. I mean, if say that there was some sort of condition which caused you to uncontrollably throw your knee forward and you were constantly kneeing people in the crotch, well, you might have a movie made for you in Britain about it, but I'm sure they're going to keep you out of knee distance away from that person if they happen to show up for the event, because the last thing you need is to see Harrison Ford take one to the old boxcar. The same thing goes here. Once again, I get it. One of the main features of the show, one of the major elements was this thing called I Swear, which I have not seen. It's apparently a British thing. And that's the BAFTAs. It's about Tourette syndrome and trying to, foster some level of understanding. Well, once again, I feel sorry for people that have Tourette syndrome, but it doesn't do you any good to have two of your presenters who clearly, once again, were stunned. And Michael B. Jordan does not feel like it was accidental. He felt like this was intentional. Delroy Lindo obviously talked a little bit more about it, saying, okay, we just kind of went through it. But yes, you probably should have stopped the show. You've already said you edited down the live show for the 2-hour broadcast. You probably should have stopped the show, said, you know what, let's have him, step aside, because once again, tolerance for his condition doesn't mean we have to accept him being intolerant of other people through his language, especially the N-word. And you pull him aside, re-edit it, have, Michael B. Jordan, Delroy Lindo come back out, redo the whole thing, and you want to know the truth is, if they would have done that, I think, although it still is somewhat horrific what happened, I think that Jordan and Lindo would probably have been, okay, we understand that this is a condition and they try to make good, and it's unfortunate this happened. But that's not what they did. And once again, they edited out the Free Palestine thing. So they already were looking to do this. And up until this morning, they still had the footage with the N-word being screamed available on the BBC player. Yikes. 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 Dear Lord. Yeah. That's all right. Chicago, Seattle. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Minneapolis, St. Paul, bam, hour 2 up next.
Hey, this is Indiana. Executive Director of Twin Cities Pride and your host of Twin Cities Pride Amplified. Our community needs your help. Twin Cities Pride is collecting donations to help our local community in need. We're collecting everything from shelf-stable food, household cleaning supplies, infant care items, and personal care products at our Pride Cultural Arts Center. If you're looking to help, reach out to us at info@tcpride.org or just stop by 1201 Harmon Place in Minneapolis. It's our time to take care of our community and take care of each other all year long.
Hey, Francois, have you made any New Year's resolutions?
Non.
Well, mine is to learn some French. Can you help me?
Bien sûr.
How do you say this? Can I buy you?
Est-ce que je peux t'acheter
Macaroons from Nicolette's.
des macarons de Nicolette's?
Now, say it all at once.
Est-ce que je peux t'acheter des macarons de Nicolette's?
Oh, absolutely. I'll have a box of raspberry rose, blueberry cheesecake, and chocolate.
Mais c'est quoi ça?
Thank you, Francois. You can order them online at nicoletsmacaroons.com or visit their store in Plymouth. Merci.
Your Need to Know News headquarters, the Tom Hartman Program, AM 950, KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
This is AP News Minute. On Friday, President Donald Trump said this after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down many of his global tariffs.
I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff.
On Saturday, Trump said on social media he's upping the global tariff to 15% instead of 10%. The tariffs are limited to 150 days unless they are extended legislatively. Blizzard warnings have been issued for New York City, New Jersey, and coastal communities along the East Coast, with a winter storm expected to arrive on Sunday. National Weather Service meteorologist Cody Snell.
We do have up to 18 to 20 inches of snow currently forecast across parts of New Jersey and Long Island.
American women are crushing it at the Winter Olympics. More than 40 American women are expected to leave the Games with at least one medal, which would be a winter record for the U.S. I'm Donna Warner.
Sensitive government information to Epstein. He's not facing allegations of sexual misconduct. At Donahue Reports, Nick Reiner pleaded not guilty in a Los Angeles court today.
He's charged with the stabbing deaths of his parents, director and actor Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer Reiner, in December.
Yes, for the record, Your Honor, the people have turned over to the defense the larger bulk of discovery. We are still awaiting word from the coroner's office that they completed the autopsy report. As soon as we get it, we'll turn it over from the defense, as well as any other discovery that comes in.
Police have said nothing about possible motives. Prosecutors have not decided whether to seek the death penalty. I'm Ed Donahue.
A down day for stocks amid renewed concern over President Trump's tariffs. The Dow plunged 821 points, or 1.7%. The S&P sank 1%, the Nasdaq 1.1%. On Saturday, Trump said he was boosting his new tariffs to 15%. This is AP News.
Workdays can be unpredictable, but your workwear shouldn't be. With the Cintas Apparel Plus program, you'll have freshly laundered garments for everyone on your team delivered every week. Cintas has workwear for just about any job imaginable, with high-performance fabrics and an uncompromising fit that stretches and moves with you. Don't leave looking and feeling good to chance. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you can choose the best coverage option for you. Because you know you. Like, you know you can't cook. You're not one of those people who say that they can, but when people come over for dinner, they find out the hard way, you can't. You can't even microwave popcorn, and that's literally just one button. Plus, measuring and patience are huge parts of cooking, and that's just not you. Only you know you. So get coverage options within your budget with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Pricing coverage.
Celebrate Valentine's with the perfect musical. The Chameleon Theater Circle is proud to present I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change. Bright, sexy, witty, and fun, this show will appeal to anyone who has ever fallen into the deep end of love and come up gasping for air. Shows run 3 weekends starting February 13th at Denver Hills Community College. Just Google Chameleon Theater to see times and reserve tickets. I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change with the Chameleon Theater Circle. Get your tickets now.
What if I told you that toxic pesticides from crop seeds and lawns have spread all over Minnesota's lands and water, devastating wildlife and posing risks to our health? Well, it's true. but a coalition of Minnesota farmers, community members, anglers, and more are taking action to protect our state from neurotoxic pesticides. To learn more and get involved, visit cleanerseed.org. That's cleanerseed.org. And tune to Food Freedom Radio.
Hi, this is Frank Brown with Minuteman Press Uptown. It's election season. If you're campaigning for a candidate, your outreach needs top quality union printed materials, from direct mail and yard signs to door hangers, buttons, t-shirts, and flyers. Minuteman Uptown is your union shop to get people to the polls. We print everything. We'll keep your candidate top of mind, target your message with a laser focus, and maximize your voter turnout efforts. Get started today at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Today, sunshine with a high of 21, then tonight, cloudy with a low of 17. The Great Wall has been your home for Chinese favorites since 1981. Don't miss the sesame chicken, mushu pork with Chinese pancakes, or Peking duck. Stop in at the restaurant on France Avenue and 45th Street along the Minneapolis-Edina City line, or check them out at greatwallrestaurant.us. Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of the show here on your Monday. Matt and Patrick on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, as well on BAM, the Blue Amp Media Network, and blueamp.co on Substack. That's blueamp.co on Substack. 952-946-6205. So I did have some fun this weekend. I did go out, Patrick, on Saturday. They had the rescheduled. My wife's company has a holiday party. They didn't have it because obviously ICE was gassing everyone in the city. So, that has a tendency of not saying happy holidays. So we redid the party. We had that this weekend. That was great fun. Had a very good time with that. But then on Friday night, and I posted the photos of this, I went out to Chanhassen Dinner Theater. Got to see our good friend Nancy Nelson, who everyone here loves Nancy. Everyone. Who doesn't love Nancy Nelson? She's one of the nicest human beings on the freaking planet, if not the. I mean, she's up there.
She's worth the price of admission.
Oh, she is. She's great. I saw Tom Butler from Fox 9 over there. He's looking great. I'm aging for both of us. I don't know what the heck, what curse he's got that he's staying so young and good. Go over to see it. Guys and Dolls. Have you seen, when was the last time you saw it, if you've ever seen it?
I don't think I ever have seen the live production.
1950. This is one of the, I guess you could say, out of like the traditional musicals that we think of today. This is one of the first ones that kind of held out. And the reason why is the music in it is really good. And I highly recommend go to Chanhassen Dinner Theater. Go see this. It's good fun. All right. It is good fun. Luck Be a Lady Tonight. A Bushel and a Peck is a really good song. Basically, More I Cannot Wish You. You've got Luck Be a Lady Tonight. Sue Me. Oh, that good song. Marry the Man Today. That's a very good song. A lot of great songs. And as a matter of fact, I would say Guys and Dolls is kind of the template which eventually came down the line, which really was the explosion of these great Broadway musicals in the 1950s and 1960s. Fantastic. I mean, you forget how old Guys and Dolls is. Very good. If you ever get the chance to see that, I will say it is crazy to think about the movie having Marlon Brando in it. He plays Sky Masterson. There's Nathan Detroit and Sky Masterson. And yeah, the Sky Masterson. Yeah. You have Frank Sinatra playing Nathan Detroit. That makes sense. That checks out. If you're in the Twin Cities, you want to go have a good night time. I had that. I also had the desserts there. Fantastic. I enjoyed that quite a bit. 952-946-6205. Of course, also did get out. I did get out a little hiking this weekend, which was nice. Got outside. It's we're starting to get here in the Twin Cities, even though it's got snow out there and it is cold. The sun is actually starting to get warm enough to where if you're out in the sun, it actually, even if it's cold, it doesn't feel that bad because it's trying to warm things up. So I hope you had a good weekend, no matter what you did. We live in Minneapolis, St. Paul, which is a fine city. And once again, we have a tendency of showing up pretty high on lists. And even with the Republican Party of Minnesota unleashing chaos on our state by welcoming ICE agents in here to do all these bad things, Minnesota still shines through once again. It is praised as one of the best places to raise a family. A report from Wallet Hub tags the state as the second best in the country for raising a family, an accolade that was shared by Governor Walz. The study looked at all 50 states across 50 indicators that include metrics such as health, safety, children care, child care, affordability, and education. Those metrics were placed into 5 parent categories. Minnesota performing best of all in affordability, where it ranked 4th. We'll place second in median family income and percentage of families in poverty, which I don't think means a lot of them. I mean, I think that's less. Other findings included that the state has the 8th lowest wealth gap and is placed 13th for employer-based retirement plans. When parents can afford childcare, paid time off care, and give for a new baby or a loved one access to innovative and quality health care and trust their kids are receiving a world-class education, families thrive. That's how we build a strong communities and a stronger future for every Minnesotan. Governor Walz putting that out. The state that beat Minnesota, Massachusetts. I love Massachusetts. I really do. I love New England. I lived in Rhode Island for many years. I was born in Minnesota, born at Fairview Southdale back in 1960. At a very young age, I moved to Rhode Island, to Wickford. It was wicked cool in Wickford. Oh, it was wicked cool. You see, there's the proof right there. Lived in Wickford and East Greenwich for a few years in Rhode Island, then moved to Georgia for 2 years, and then moved back to Minneapolis and went to high school up here. I love New England. New England is fantastic. And Massachusetts, Boston is one of my favorite towns on the planet. Boston is an amazing city. So salute, respect, Massachusetts. North Dakota comes in 3rd. What? Wisconsin 4th, Nebraska, New York, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Illinois, and Maine are the top 10. Here are your bottom 10. 41 is Georgia, 42 is South Carolina, 43 is Oklahoma, 44 is Arkansas, 45 is Louisiana. I'm sensing a trend here. 46 is Alabama, 47 Nevada, 48 Mississippi, 49 West Virginia, and 50 is New Mexico. New Mexico is the only solidly Democratic state there, but Nevada is kind of a toss-up state. It's become much more of one because a lot of people were idiots and thought Trump was actually going to help them. You fools. It's so stupid. God. Anyway, but the rest of those, yeah, you can see those slack jaws are hanging, can't you? Ugh. Also, by the way, this weekend, and I didn't get to see this, when I was going out on Saturday night, I saw that Target Center had Brandi Carlile was over there. And she came in and did a big fundraiser for the city. I want to give her a lot of salute there. Not only that, but there's a great article. I'm going to post this. Rolling Stone had an interview with her right after she came off the stage in Minneapolis. A very good interview. I'll get that posted up a little bit later on so you can read that. So it was nice to have you here, and thank you very much. Just the latest musician stepping up to try to help out Minnesota from the, once again, Minnesota Republican Party welcoming in ICE to beat and kill the people of the state of Minnesota because, you know, Christians. Speaking of Republicans, there's a story from last week I'm not going to let go. It's a story from Heartland Signal, who are with our sister station down in Chicago, WCPT. They work out of there. And fantastic news. If you're not checking Heartland Signal every day, they've got really good news stories there. Well worth a visit. And this story, and the first thing that crossed my mind was this is a story about a Minnesota House member. And I can tell you the truth. I did not see any local coverage of this. And I thought about this weekend because I talked about this on Friday. And I thought about this weekend. I said, do I really want to bring this up? And I said, I kind of do. And the reason why is that I've got a strong suspicion that the Republican Party of Minnesota has told the news media of this city to not cover this story because they're afraid of the implications for their candidate for state auditor, and I'll get to that here in a second, Elliot Engen. Now, the auditor position, the state auditor, this is quite literally the most least glamorous statewide job you can have. Your job is not to necessarily look at statewide fraud, but you look at like county per county programs and projects that happened. So say a county was given state taxpayer dollars to help fund a water reclamation project, okay? You would go in there after the project is finished to make sure that the taxpayer dollars was spent effectively. This is not really anything partisan. It's just supposed to be good governance. Now, there is also the element of, I believe that the state pensions are somewhat run through the auditor's office. So there are concerns that, some people might start investing things in very irresponsible ways, crypto, if they were to get into office. That's why I would never trust a Republican with the auditor position. But for the most part, this is a position that's an oversight position. It's after the fact oversight. You're going in there and you're looking at a project that's already been completed and trying to determine whether or not the taxpayer dollars were spent efficiently and effectively as advertised. Okay? All right. So once again, this is something that requires somebody who's, honest and doesn't have an agenda. Julie Blaha is our current auditor. She's fantastic. I love Julie. She is a hoot too. And for somebody that does such what I think for most people would be considered a relatively boring job, she is a hoot, a hoot, a hoot, a hoot. Anyway. So one of the candidates that's running for auditor in the state is Elliot Engen. He had, and from the story I read last week, he accused Democratic lawmakers of being responsible for the deaths of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. The 27-year-old, 27. Yeah. I one time did a spreadsheet. I'm ready to go over and start making sure people are spending taxpayer dollars effectively. Think of the guy that runs the movie theater in The Simpsons. He made the claims during an appearance on a right-wing radio show last month. During the interview, Engen claimed to have access to a donor list for a nonprofit called Ice Out Minnesota. This nonprofit helped coordinate the statewide protests in Minnesota, nonviolent ones. That's their big thing. They do not promote violence. They are for nonviolent protesting. And they helped coordinate the protests in Minnesota on January 23rd in response to the ICE agents' actions in the state. Engen also said without evidence that these apparent donors were responsible for funding a coordinated insurgency effort that led to Preddy and Good being killed. Because once again, this is the only thing they have. Because if it's just what it really was, the citizens of the state of Minnesota really angry that the Republican Party of Minnesota welcomed in an authoritarian, fascist, Gestapo-like police force to come into the state and start beating people and arresting people and violating people's rights, well, then they're the bad guys. So they have to kind of create this, Star Chamber Illuminati sort of crap without any evidence, because that's the only way these soulless ghouls can get any sleep at night. And they know it. So they make up these lies because the truth is, you guys did this. The Republican Party of Minnesota welcomed ICE agents in to beat and assault people in the state. This is a quote. There are over 55 people that were found in this donor file of Minnesota government provenance, and the fact they were willing to fund a coordinated insurgency effort to provoke, incentivize, and enable these riots, it was really them trying to sow the chaos that led to 2 deaths. And that's so disheartening and disgusting that they're willing to try to use Minnesotans as political pawns by setting up a very highly sophisticated, coordinated effort to sow chaos in the streets. So once again, he is making some very specific allegations. He is saying that Ice Out Minnesota is not the nonviolent organization, which it says it is. He's saying they're violent, that everyone in the Democratic Party knows they're violent, and that 55 people on this donor list that he has seen are governing prominence, which would lead me to believe he is saying senators, House members, maybe even statewide government, the senator, whether that's governor or state, a U.S. senator or something like that. He is saying he has seen a list with 55 people on it that were all from this organization. Here's where this starts to get a little bit funky. And not just, real funky. It's unclear what information Engen is referring to in this segment, because Ice Out Minnesota is a relatively new organization, and its donors list has not been made publicly available. Also, it's a 501(c), which means the IRS would typically not make the Ice Out Minnesota donor list public. So where did you get this donor list? So let's talk about this, because once again, I explained what the auditor does. And this guy wants to be the auditor, which requires people to be neutral and be able to go in and look at how money is being spent and being able to fairly evaluate whether it's being done. Here is a guy who is saying, I have seen a donor list, which by all accounts doesn't seem to exist unless somebody leaked it to him from Ice Out Minnesota, which the only way he could verify that is to show us what it is. And by the way, Engen did not respond to multiple requests from Heartland Signal to comment on the story and provide evidence for his claims. So the little 27-year-old coward boy is hiding now. He doesn't want to show his list, which he says definitively shows, quote, there are over 55 people who I found in this donor file of Minnesota governing provenance. So he is saying, I've got a list which is from Ice Out Minnesota, which is their donor list, which is basically these 55 politicians, over 55 politicians who have been involved in this, who were actually promoting violence and rioting, which they weren't. But he is not he's basically wanting to act as if this is something that just he has. So we're talking about either he somehow got access to files he should not have had access to. Now, there are two paths on that. Path one is whether or not Ice Out Minnesota had filed any paperwork with the federal government, he got somebody in the federal government to give him access to IRS files that he is not qualified to have access to. Or he has somebody who gave him a list of names and files, which they said came from Ice Out Minnesota, but either he has not verified or he has verified, he just doesn't want to share that. Needless to say, that's pretty effing sketchy. In both cases, that's real sketchy. In the one case, you have a conspiracy with the federal government to basically leak information to Engen, which that's against the law, actually. So there could be criminal charges there. So be careful, Elliot, before your 27-year-old experienced caboose goes out there and says, oh boy, yeah, I got it from them. You might want to be careful what your story is at this point, because that could lead to criminal charges. The other side is you got a list from, there's this guy that I know that's a guy, that's a friend, that's a sister, that's a cousin, that's a secretary, that's a worker, that's used to walk their dog. They gave me this list. Which would be sketchy. And you basically are going out in public airwaves and saying definitives which you haven't yet verified. But needless to say, you don't want to show us this list. Then there's the other side of this. Your sad, pathetic little caboose, 27-year-old caboose, is lying, and you're making this up. Which is even more devastating for somebody who wants to be the auditor, that is supposed to take over a role that is not about lying your way to solutions or making up evidence, or you need to be able to do this job without making up evidence, or without getting super secret evidence you don't know where it came from, or without getting evidence you're not supposed to have access to. You're supposed to go and do the job. So this entire story kind of negates the ability for Elliot Engen to run for auditor, because he's untrustworthy. Unless he can provide, where did he get this information? How does he know it's the case? And how is it that he saw something that said Ice Out Minnesota was something that it wasn't? Because what I saw Bovino and his goons storming into protesters and beating and assaulting them. I saw Alex Preddy getting gunned down from behind by a bunch of deranged psychopaths in the streets, who then stripped his body to count the bullet holes so they could take credit for them. I saw Renee Good trying to leave the scene, and a roid-raging psychopath of an ICE agent putting a bullet in her face and then stopping anyone from trying to go and try to save her life. The people who are responsible for the violence on the state is the Minnesota Republican Party. This seems to be a lie. I don't know if it is or not. Elliot needs to do his job. as does the Twin Cities news media. Because when I am basically breaking news, the system is broken. So I don't know if the Star Tribune and KARE 11 and Channel 4 and Channel 5 and Channel 9, I don't know if you guys, the Pioneer Press, I don't know if you guys are been told not to report on this, because this whole story seems to imply that he should not be the state auditor. But for God's sakes, we shouldn't have to go to Chicago to get this story and find out that there's a decent chance one of the candidates would be dishonest, or definitely dishonest, but delusional enough to either take a list on face value without any evidence it's real, or get access to a list of people that he shouldn't have not had access to, which could open up criminal charges, or he's just making it up. By the way, I also want to make sure I mention, he says that his experience starting a Turning Point University chapter, Turning Point USA chapter at Hamlin University, gives him the experience of being the auditor. Dude, you shouldn't be in charge of a freaking spoon, let alone the state auditor. And by the way, where's your evidence? You're the one that said you had this. You're the one that was out there whenever you're in front of friendly crowds saying you've got this. Come on, Elliot. Where is it? Where's the evidence? Elliot. 952-946-6205. News media, do your freaking job, will you? God, I'm tired of having to spank you guys. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show here on your Monday.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been telling you about my friends at Snap Construction, who are arguably the most well-reviewed exterior construction company in the metro. Don't just take my word for it. Take a look at all their reviews online. Winter is the most cost-effective time of the year to complete your construction project. A majority of Minnesotans choose to have their work completed on their home in the summer when they should be enjoying the weather. As a result, the demand for labor in the summer is much higher. The most cost-effective way to improve or restore your home is in the winter due to the lower demand. Right now, Snap Construction is offering an additional 30% off of labor to the AM 950 listeners on your next construction project between now and the end of February. Call 612-333-SNAP and mention AM 950 for an additional 30% off. As always, Snap Construction stands by their work with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. Don't wait to get a free estimate by calling 612-333-SNAP or find them online at snapconstruction.com. Financing options available.
Lewis Black, live.
When I was in elementary school, then I was like 9, and the teacher said, in case of a nuclear attack, get under your desk. And I said, why would I do that? And she said, because you'll burn faster.
Don't miss this chance to see the legendary Lewis Black. It's like spotting a unicorn. Live in the Mystic Showroom Friday, May 1st. Get tickets now at the Mystic box office or online at mysticlake.com.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
Hi, I'm Mary T. I'm a proud supporter of AM 950 because this station shares the values that I care about most: community, connection, and making a difference. Just like AM 950, I believe in using our energies, our resources, and our voices to lift up others. That's why I started the Mary T. Scholar Program at the University of Minnesota College of Education and Human Development, providing graduate students with internships internationally. For over the past 10 years, our students have served communities in Laos, Cambodia, Nepal, India, Cameroon, and Thailand, gaining experience and helping people in ways that really make a difference. Supporting AM 950 fosters conversation, awareness, and action in our communities. It's about shared values and believing that together we can make a difference. Visit MaryTinc.com to learn more about the work that we do.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. I've got questions. Speaking of which, since we're talking about ICE a little bit here, let me get into some other issues here. A former ICE teacher at a Georgia training facility will tell a forum called by congressional Democrats on Monday that new agents are trained to run roughshod over constitutional rights, including the right to against a home invasion, and that the federal agency is broken. Ryan Schwank, who resigned from Immigration and Customs Enforcement on February 13th, plans to tell the forum that Immigration and Customs Enforcement is training new agents to violate the Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable search and seizure, according to draft by Schwank's testimony shared with the Minnesota Star Tribune. ICE is trying to lying to Congress and the American people about the steps it is taking to ensure its 10,000 new officers faithfully uphold the Constitution, said Schwank, who joined ICE as a legal counsel in 2021. The Department of Homeland Security, which runs ICE, has said all of its officers were following federal law throughout Operation Metro Surge in Minneapolis and other widespread escalations such as Chicago. But others have made several criticisms. Last month, Blumenthal wrote that DHS Secretary Kristi Noem about a secret policy permitting agents to circumvent the privacy protections of the Fourth Amendment by relying on an administrative order rather than a judicial warrant. Early this month, a similar gathering heard testimony from Renee Good's brothers and a Minneapolis resident dragged from her car. A memo from the minority staff of the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations also lays out an internal ICE record showing that new recruits are receiving significantly less training than previous officers. 2 weeks ago, ICE Acting Director Todd Lyons told Congress that while overall training days had declined, new officers were being asked to work longer days. But the records in the memo suggest ICE trainees are still working a traditional 9-hour day. Furthermore, they are taking fewer exams. One exam cut by staff includes a practice on judgment pistol shooting, according to the memo. You don't say. No, it's clear that the ICE agents, the Trump administration specifically went out to get the stupidest human beings possible to be Border Patrol and ICE agents. And to get them into the roles, they basically had to make sure all the multi-syllable words were removed from any documents and reading. And then the reading was they could watch an episode of Kung Fu from the 1970s, and that would qualify enough, I guess. Yeah. These guys are clearly grossly unqualified. And that is why they're allowing them to hide their faces. It should be noted, too, I don't know if you saw this story. Utah Senator Mike Lee, who is one of the biggest idiots I've ever seen in my life. MAGA boy out there. He tried to say that because there's this shooting that happened in the cartels down in with the cartels down in this armed gang, and these armed gangs were wearing masks, and he's saying, see, no Democrat cares about those guys wearing masks, to which everyone pointed out, it's like, okay, are you comparing ICE agents to, drug cartel assassins? Because I would want my ICE agents to not be the same thing as a drug cartel assassin. Mike Lee, who is so stupid he actually put that up there without thinking about it, actually removed it. Because everyone was piling on him because he's an idiot from Utah. All right. He's just an idiot. Anyway, so yeah, there's that. I got more on some of the stuff with ICE, some other issues to try to get to as well. Might try to get to the push to rip apart northern Minnesota, one of the last great pristine wildernesses of the United States, to rip it apart so that they can give Antofagasta, a Chilean mining company, all the minerals that are underneath it, and it won't help America at all. Just make Pete Stauber, the House rep that's up there, probably a fairly wealthy man. I'll try to get to that as well. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
Hey, Chanhassen and Eden Prairie, it's Alex with Buzz Cut Mowing. Why wake up early, freeze, and shovel snow when I can handle it for you? I provide fast, reliable snow removal so your driveway and sidewalk stay clear, safe, and stress-free all winter long. Relax, enjoy your morning coffee, and let me do the heavy lifting. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com today and make this winter easier, warmer, and worry-free with Buzz Cut Mowing. Because nobody likes shoveling snow.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Hi, I'm Katrina, and I'm the host of Boldly Challenging Ableism. They're letting me do season 2. I can't believe it either. But in season 2, we have new guests and old guests, so we can satisfy all of your listening needs and desires, or at least 2 distinct subsets of listening needs and desires. Our theme is actually pretty locked in. But anyway, join us right here on Sundays at 2 p.m.
Catch the season 2 premiere of Boldly Challenging Ableism on Sunday, March 1st at 2 o'clock.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. February is the month for love, so when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it deserves? Maybe you've been procrastinating on the holiday post-mortem cleanup at your house. Are you worried if you got down on your hands and knees what you might see or smell? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the largest air filter in your home. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing this nasty stuff for months. Lucky for you, Zero Res is going to spread the love to you and your home. This month, get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $119 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Call my friends at Zero Res right now, 9520-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. A 4.9 rating on Google reviews and over 21,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
Are you tired of hearing how white European men discovered everything? Then 10,000 Things Theater's production of Men on Boats by Jacqueline Backhouse is for you. It features a cast of the people the first expedition to the Grand Canyon in 1869 left out, running February 19th through March 15th at 4 different locations, starting with Open Book in Minneapolis. Contact 10,000things.org. That's 10,000things.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, cloudy with a low of 17, then Tuesday, a chance of rain and snow with a high of 37. The Great Wall has been your home for Chinese favorites since 1981. Don't miss the sesame chicken, mushu pork with Chinese pancakes, or Peking duck. Stop in at the restaurant on France Avenue and 45th Street along the Minneapolis-Edina City line, or check them out at greatwallrestaurant.us.
You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Give me a kiss to build a dream on.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. As I was lambasting the Twin Cities news media, there are some good news media outlets, and I think every place has some good outlets. You have to go find them, though. Tomorrow, Patrick Cooligan from the Minnesota Reformer will join us. He's very good. The Sahan Journal out of the Twin Cities does very good. Racket out of the Twin Cities does very good. Heartland Signal out of Chicago is very good. There are some outlets out there. Find them. Find them. I read them, and I read Guardian and Independent and the BBC, and I read some of these. I find that most of my news comes from either these other real journalist sites or the British versions of American news, which are about the only things which are legit as far as American news coverage, for God's sakes. 952-946-6205. Speaking of the Minnesota Reformer, they did a very interesting piece here. It does indeed look like there is a massive decrease in the amount of ICE activity happening. Now, that's what their analysis is saying. Whether that's happening, there's still some question. Trump's borders are announced the imminent end to Operation Metro Surge of the 3,000 immigration officers in Minnesota on February 12th At the time, Tom Homan said that agents from other states would be sent home or deployed elsewhere within a week, and a small footprint will remain for a period of time to wind down the operation. On Friday, U.S. Representatives Angie Craig and Ilhan Omar said that during an oversight visit to the Whipple building, immigration officials told them that fewer than 500 federal immigration agents remained in the state and that the agents were making roughly 20 arrests a day. A pre-surge number of immigrants arrests was about 150. Governor Walz said earlier this month, people tracking ICE have reported significantly less federal immigration enforcement activity. The reports of ICE activity continue. Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty said during a Wednesday press conference that ICE continues to terrorize community members. Sahan Journal reported that people observing ICE are finding that agents use increasingly covert tactics, including reports of agents doing door-to-door pretending to be environmental canvassers as they work the Twin Cities suburbs. Dear Lord, man. You're going door to door pretending that you are, remember I told you they're about violating people's rights? Yeah. Crowdsourced data from Minnesota's decentralized rapid response network, composed of neighborhood group chats dedicated to tracking ICE activity, show a noticeable dip in tracked ICE activity the week following the announcement. Rapid responders also recorded more ICE activities in the suburbs than in the Twin Cities in recent days. On February 17th, for example, 6 days ago, observers recorded immigration activities 20 times in the suburbs compared to only 3 times in the Twin Cities of St. Paul and Minneapolis themselves. The data is incomplete and not intended to capture all ICE activity. The crowdsourced data includes 578 arrests during Operation Metro Surge, around 14% of the 4,000 arrests federal officials had announced on February 4th. An untold number of immigrants have been arrested without the cameras or whistles of observers, and even when people do witness ICE activity, they may not be connected to a rapid response group chat or reported. Also, the number of people actively observing and documenting ICE activity has fluctuated, gone up and down over time. Still, the absence of robust public available data on arrests and other immigration enforcement activity over time from the federal government, data collected by observers, offers some insights into immigration enforcement trends. Absolutely. I mean, it's the most basic form of news. It's observation. Did the sun come up this morning? Yeah, it got bright. There you go. Done. I mean, that's basic information. Flights transferring detainees out of state observed and recorded by activists from MN 5051 50501 offer another source of data on federal immigration activity. That data also points to a significant drop in immigration activity, with 15 or fewer people flown out each day last week, down from a peak of 246 detainees flown out of Minneapolis St. Paul International on January 10th. February 13th, the day after Homan's announcement about the end of Operation Metro Surge, it was the first day in over a month that there wasn't even one chartered flight observed by activists. The federal judge appointed by Trump in a pointed ruling on February 12th, ordered that ICE has to give immigrants access to lawyers within an hour of detaining them and can't transfer a detainee out of state until after 72 hours of detention, possibly affecting the cadence of the ICE flights. There are some charts here, and once again, I am a radio broadcaster, so charts don't work too well here. My spreadsheet's not going to come across as clean as you think. Let me describe it to you. Now, I will post this story from Minnesota Reformer. Look at the charts. They actually back this up. But once again, they themselves are the first to say, it's hard to gauge how legit this is. It could be, and a lot of things are pointing to it being legit. But then again, Fridley Public School Superintendent Brenda Lewis has spent the last 7 weeks essentially running her district from the back of a school van. Wow. After a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent fatally shot Renee Good in Minneapolis in early January, Lewis said she and others in the North suburban community started seeing armed masked federal agents roaming their neighborhoods. That's the crazy part. The amount of people I have talked to that have just reported that, I'm walking on the street, I'm walking my dog, and then there's clearly some sort of armed militant group here that shows up with no logos on their vehicles, no logos on them. It's scary stuff. for 2 hours each morning and 2 in the afternoon. Since then, Lewis has patrolled streets and parking lots surrounding her school buildings looking for signs of agents disrupting her district's work. Despite the announcement end of the 2-month surge of federal immigration agents, Lewis and others say there's still plenty of evidence that ICE continues to interrupt daily life for students, staff, and families in Fridley alone and other districts with high concentrations of immigrant kids. The district continues to offer online learning to hundreds of children too afraid to leave. School staff and volunteers continue to deliver groceries to families and guard crosswalks at schools dismissal and arrival times. There's also a lot of people out there who are basically taking time to, observe at bus stops, and they're getting up and going out in the cold and waiting there, just being there in case the kids get, harassed. The amount of good community that has been on display in Minneapolis, St. Paul has been outstanding. Leaders at schools throughout the Twin Cities say it's not clear to them whether they can safely resume normal school operations. So on one side, you have the Minnesota Reformer saying just numbers alone point to this might be, starting to draw down. People on the ground, though, are saying not quite yet. You can't really say it's for sure. It's getting better. I will say once again, though, I've been helping out. I know other people have been helping out, making donations, raising money, delivering food. A big salute to everybody in the Twin Cities, because this is what community looks like. And if the idea was, and it was, when the Republicans in Minnesota, when this all started, their whole narrative was stay inside, lock your door, and when you hear your neighbors screaming, just ignore that and turn up the TV louder. I'm barely paraphrasing that. That is what they were saying. Just stay inside, lock the door, and when you hear people screaming in the streets, just ignore that and realize they're bad people, so that's good enough. Their whole goal was to create separation. And what Minneapolis, St. Paul has kind of done is saying, oh, screw that. We're out there trying to help people. And a lot of people are standing up to the bully. And this is how you get an integrated and multicultural community, is letting people know, because they want, and I want to make sure we understand, the Republican Party wants the Hispanic family scared in their house. They want them that way. These so-called Christians want the Somali families terrified of when they hear footsteps out there outside their apartment door. They want that. These Republicans, they want when the Southeast Asian, the Hmong families are sitting and saying, is someone's knocking on the door, is that a family member? Is it someone we can trust? Or is it someone canvassing for environmental issues? The Republican parties want minorities terrified and scared, cowering in the dark. And F that, man. The hell with you people. You're the least Christian human beings I've ever seen in my life. No, we're coming together, and I appreciate this. Here's a great way. I saw this story. This is at a racket. There's never been a more difficult time for the immigrant-owned restaurants around Lake Street in Minneapolis. After the start of Operation Metro Surge, some businesses closed their doors indefinitely as workers and customers alike stopped leaving their homes, fearing gangs of federal agents. Those that stayed open are still struggling for some same reasons. According to the Lake Street Council, the 1,000 plus immigrant-owned businesses along the corridor lost $46 million in December and January, and the federal invasion is now in its third month. And I want to remind you, this is also part of the Republican Party's plan, is an economic embargo on the minorities, to which then these arrogant white jackasses will sit there and say, you see, their business failed because they're not like me, a smart white guy that had my daddy buy me a business and bankroll me for years. They failed because of their own business. No, they failed because you went out there. And what happened in Tulsa with the race riots was horrific, and the deaths of hundreds of people. This is a version of that, where they're trying to they're so angry. The Republicans are so angry that minority groups are proving their bigoted, hate-filled rhetoric wrong, that they're trying to send in ICE to strangle those businesses so they can say, yeah, they should have even tried. Everything should be a Chick-fil-A, and it should be a white guy running it. That's what they want. We've seen firsthand the effect on businesses themselves because we are in direct contact. Because Moz Osman, digital contact specialist for the Lake Street Council and Visit Lake Street, but the nonprofit is also hearing from residents. People want to help, Osman said. Community members are reaching out constantly over email and phone, looking for ways they can support others by donating, maybe lending a hand or staying with the business as pedestrian security. And that's how Osman and his colleagues came up with an idea. What about cash mobs? Nice. The shop local take on the flash mob became popular in the early 2010s as a way to bring lots of people out to local businesses, and they'd see the idea implemented successfully in other Minnesota communities, so why not Lake Street? The council spoke with a few restaurants to make sure they could handle the crowd that they could bring in there, and held their first cash mob at Pineda Taco Plus on January 21st. Events at other Lake Street businesses have followed each Wednesday, and by the way, we're talking good food here, people. They're talking amazing food at some of these places. It's just amazing. They basically went out each Wednesday, first at Lake and Bryant Cafe and Lido's Burritos, then at Hamdi Restaurant, then a Snag Restaurant, and then there's also screen printing with local artists. The 5th installment will take place this Wednesday at Galapagos Bar and Grill from 4 until 7 p.m. Cash mobs provide a tangible call to action. They're structured opportunity and a way to help people have a measurable impact, all while eating some really, really good food made by the immigrants, people that want to be here. And we want you here, by all means. Okay, if you can't do this, can I make the suggestion, the plea, if I can? Get together with 5 guys, 5 of your friends, 5 of your coworkers. Go down to one of these businesses. Buy yourself some food, and then buy another meal for you to take home. Because that little thing will do a lot to help these people. So get down there, get to these areas, go out to Eat Street, which has also been hit by this, Lake Street, which has got amazing restaurants on it. That's one thing I love about this town. It's got good food, man. Get down there and help out any way you can. And bonus time, the food is so good. You're welcome. You're welcome. Eat it. Eat up. Fantastic. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. I'll get into mining on the Iron Range. When I do return, it's the Matt McNeil Show.
There really is no place like home. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Home Health. When you're faced with an illness or an injury, being able to stay at home and receive care is important. Our home health offers a wide range of services, including skilled nursing, physical, occupational, and speech therapies, aides, homemakers, in-home respite care, and 24/7 live-in care. We'll work closely with your primary care provider to come up with an individualized plan for you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Hey everyone, it's Ellie Krug, the host of The Legal Trends Woman that airs on Saturdays at 3 o'clock. As some of you know, when I'm not doing radio, I'm writing things. A decade ago, I published my first book, Getting to Ellen, a memoir about love, honesty, and gender change. More recently, my newest book, Being Ellen, A Second Chance at Life, was released. I'm thrilled about that, so much so that I partnered with one of AM 950's friends and advertisers, Big Hill Books in Minneapolis, for an author event where you can come and meet me and hopefully buy a book or two. The author event at Big Hill Books will take place on Sunday, March 1st from 2 to 3 in the afternoon. Big Hill Books is a lovely place with all things literary. Please come. I'd love to personally inscribe a book for you and to chat about what it means to live authentically, true to oneself. Again, please join me on Sunday, March 1st at Big Hill Books, which is located at 405 Penn Avenue South in Minneapolis. I look forward to seeing you.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. February is the month for love, so when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it deserves? Maybe you've been procrastinating on the holiday post-mortem cleanup at your house. Are you worried if you got down on your hands and knees what you might see or smell? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the largest air filter in your home. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing this nasty stuff for months. Lucky for you, Zero Res is going to spread the love to you and your home. This month, get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $119 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Call my friends at Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. A 4.9 rating on Google reviews and over 21,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
Celebrate Valentine's with the perfect musical. The Chameleon Theater Circle is proud to present I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change. Bright, sexy, witty, and fun, this show will appeal to anyone who has ever fallen into the deep end of love and come up gasping for air. Shows run 3 weekends starting February 13th at Inver Hills Community College. Just Google Chameleon Theater to see times and reserve tickets. I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change with the Chameleon Theater Circle. Get your tickets now.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. By the way, I should mention my shirt today is the International Wolf Center in Ely, Minnesota, which is going to show prominently feature in this next story. If you've not been up there, that's actually a really cool exhibit. It's a good time. And they got wolfies. But you can't pet them or anything because they're wolves. I mean, they'll rip your arm off. But still, wolfies. All right. So let me give you the abridged version of this whole thing, okay? Northern Minnesota is, for the most part, a lot of pristine wilderness. That's just it's beautiful country. If you've never been up there, I highly recommend going up there in summer. I mean, if you're a winter person, you'll love it up there too. But I mean, it's really gorgeous up there, and there are stretches there that are basically almost the same as they were when white people got there. I mean, that it's what the Native Americans were living in. It's not complete. I mean, a lot of the bigger pines are gone, but still there are some really pristine areas up there, and it's just gorgeous, and it's peaceful, and it's quiet, and it's beautiful. And unfortunately, there is also copper and nickel underneath it. Now, we've always had mining in northern Minnesota. We've had basically taconite mining, iron ore, steel. They mine the pellets here. They ship them down via the Great Lakes down to they used to send them to the foundries down in the other Great Lake cities, and that's how it worked. That was part of the American industry. But they really want the copper and nickel. Now, not America. No, not America. Antofagasta, the Chilean mining company. Well, all the international mining companies want to rip apart Minnesota and take all what it's got underneath it and then leave the scarred remains behind. Antofagasta has basically bought their own stooge in a guy named Pete Stauber, who's the Minnesota 8 representative up there, Republican douche nozzle. That guy, he would kill an entire state as long as it can help him, because this is the game plan of a lot of Republicans. Get into office, basically sell out your state, get yourself afterwards a massive 8-figure lobbying gig with the industry that you were supposed to regulate. Your kid gets hired right out of college to become a senior executive at a company for a 7-figure salary. Yet your wife is given a board position, an honorary board position, which comes with a 7-figure salary. And you move out of the state and say, screw you, because you've got yours, knowing what's about to happen in the state, which is they'd rip it apart and destroy it, because there's a problem here. The copper nickel mine it's never been done environmentally safe. It's never been. Why? Copper nickel mining carries different risks than iron mining, because the sulfide ores that contain copper and nickel can leach into toxic runoff exposed to air and water. And we're talking it will poison the water supply for 500 years. It is not to be messed with. And even though this type of mining has, once again, never been done environmentally safe, they keep insisting, we'll be safe this time. No, they won't. Let me explain what will happen. Antofagasta will get basically, law enforcement to surround their mine and prevent anyone from testing any water, prevent anyone from testing any land, prevent anyone from seeing what's really going on there. And then when they've pulled up almost all the minerals out of the ground, ripping apart the country and destroying a good part of it, when they realize, well, yeah, this is a toxic mess, then they'll sell it to some dope and say, here's your mine. and they'll be great. And then Antofagasta walks away, and then that local guy's like, there's nothing left in it, and there's just a toxic mess. And then all of a sudden, it's the state's responsibility. And that's when Pete Stauber comes on out there and goes, those guys lied to me. They said they'd be environmentally safe. No, they didn't lie to you. They paid you, Pete, to basically destroy the state. And you said, for money, any day, because that's Pete Stauber. He's a jackass. Anyway, and once again, the whole theme today, Pete Stauber, horrible. If you're taking Cliff Notes, they want that money, stuff, and it's not going to go to help American industry. It's already got contracts to go to China, so it helps their industry, not ours. So it gets ripped apart. We get nothing for it, and then we have to clean up the mess, and they destroy the pristine wilderness of the Boundary Waters. Wow, it sounds like that would suck across the board, doesn't it? But not for Pete Stauber. He's ready to sell us with a smile on his face. Don't do it. Do not do it. Native Roots Radio is up next. Have a good one. We're back on a Tuesday. Till then, see ya.
At Schroman Law, we provide more than just legal documents. We walk alongside our clients to ensure their